Good evening, this is Robert Sidell. Great pleasure to be with you here on this Sunday evening. Hold on, turn that music off for a second. This is the Gateway Show on live every Sunday evening. Let me just do one more thing here. Hold on. Every single Sunday evening, and it's my pleasure to be with you here tonight to share a message with you tonight about the greatness and the power and the gift of life that you are entitled to, that you have the ability to create. And I hope you'll join with me during this hour, which is on every Sunday evening from 6 to 7 p.m. live. And it's just a pleasure to be here with you. And I'm really open to good things. Hey, Debbie, how you doing? Uh, every moment's miraculous. Every single moment's miraculous. Sometimes I think we forget that a little bit. But if we can remember it, guess what? Speaking of miraculous things, this is my book, The Gateway, and you can still get this on Amazon, or you can get a copy at my office free of charge if you want to come by. And there's somebody I'm mailing a copy to. If you happen to be listening, Patricia, it'll go out this week. But you can come by and say hi to me right here in Las Vegas, and I'm happy to give you a free copy. This book has changed so many people's lives. I mean, I hear it every week. People tell me how it's changed their life. So it's up to you. You know, life is a choice, isn't it, for all of us? But I want you to know I'm excited to be with you here on this Sunday evening. It's a pleasure. It's a good thing to be alive, and it's funny. When I look at my life and I think, what is the real gift of this life that we have? And I think it's really hit me, my friends, is that uh, the real story of truth is that the gift is to be alive. And are you seeing the magnificence and the beauty of each day? If you can see the magnificence of the day, you won. You're ahead. Hey, James. Hey, nice to see you. I haven't seen you on here for a while, James. Nice to see you on there. Um, I so for each of us, it's one of those things where are we tuning into the miracle of the day? And are we cultivating our mind when we wake up in the mornings? I know I say this a lot, but are you saying when you wake up in the morning, I wonder what amazing things are going to happen today? What incredible, unexpected blessings are going to happen in my life today? Are you and when you're in the shower, if you're starting out your day in a shower, any one of you, if you're in that shower, I have affirmations I repeat, but lots of different ones. But one of them is, let me be open today, God, to your infinite miracle working power. Um, yeah, James. Well, anyway, it's good to see you on here, James, anyway. Um, let me be open to your infinite miracle working power. Help me tune into the magic and the wonder and the purpose of my life. Now, that's kind of the way I talk, but everybody's different. But the question for each of us is, are we opening ourselves to the true possibilities of our days? Are we opening ourselves up to the magic and wonder that's available to us? Because if we don't, we're missing out. And that's really the whole purpose of this show. And I'm sure these messages are come through me, but they were God talking to me most of the time. And it sort of forces me to spend a little bit of time on this show cultivating my own mind. I mean, I do it anyway, but then I also get the gift of grace from each of you. May be surprised, but when I do this show, I always feel your living love and presence. And you know what? This life is a miraculous kingdom. And so if you and I are listening and focusing in together, guess what? We have the ability to create miracles and possibilities, unexpected good things. That's the actual reality of this world. Where two or more are gathered, there's the miracle working power of God. The miracle working power of God. And are you open to that idea right now? Are you open to unexpected blessings in your life? Think about that for 1 second. Whoever's listening right now, on the radio, at home, anywhere else, are you open to the miracle working power of God? Would you be open to unexpected blessings showing up in ways that you couldn't even imagine? Would you be open to that? Would you be open to having new friends walk into your life you don't even know yet? That's going to change. I was talking to one of my friends, and he'd been going through a dark time in his life, and I said the same thing to him. I said, you know what? Because he had some friends he lost, and he had just some things he'd gone through a dip in his life. He was discouraged. I said, you know what? The best friends you have, some of the best friends you'll ever have you haven't even met yet. You know what he said to me recently? He said, you know what? Not long after you told me that, this guy came into my life. He's one of the best friends I've ever known. And he goes, it's just like you said. Well, you know what? That's the opportunity for each of us. So what opportunities are waiting for you and I right now? That are knocking on the door of our life. What opportunities right now are knocking on our life? And I just got a real strong conviction of that today. just this miracle working potential of this life we're in. So I'm going to put on a little bit of music here for a second, and then what I'm going to do is go ahead and let's see here. I'm going to do kind of a spiritual energy charge. How about that right now, for you and for me, for all of us who are there. Wherever you are right now, wherever you might be, if you happen to be in your car, keep your eyes focused, keep your hands on the steering wheel. If you're at home, just relax. But I want you just to open yourself to the idea that you have the ability to plug into an infinite power that surrounds you, through you, for you. That this infinite power of love wants you to thrive and succeed wherever you are right now. Now here I want you to think of this thought. Wherever you are, my friends, right this second, there also is God. When you breathe, God is closer to you than your own breath. When you think, God is with you in your thoughts. Every moment, in every way, the infinite miracle working power surrounds you, enfolds you, uplifts you, and exalts you. But we have to break the hypnotic spells of failure, of limitation, and darkness. So right now, if there's any darkness, any pattern of limitation, of failure, of struggle in your life, I declare that is broken right now by the power of God. And in its place, optimism, joy, and love will come into you. This morning, I went to a church service this morning early, and I was sitting there thinking about certain things, and on one level I was a little discouraged about certain things. And then suddenly, just out of the blue, this uplifting of grace came into me. And I suddenly realized, wow, all things are possible. Because there was a certain issue I was kind of focusing on, and I prayed to God for some guidance on it, and suddenly I just had, bam, I lifted up. And I suddenly reminded, yes, don't ever let anything stand in the way between you and your highest purpose. Dare to claim your destiny of greatness. It's waiting for you. Your destiny of greatness is waiting for you tonight, tomorrow, all the time. But you have to say if you're willing and open to it. Are you open to, is God knocking on the door of your life? Are you open? Have you opened that door and said, come in, I need you? Right now, wherever you are, the infinite intelligence that gave birth to this very cosmos, this whole universe, the earth, the stars, the sun, the moon, everything. That very intelligence that gave birth to all of that also gave birth to you. You're not separate from that intelligence. When Jesus walked on the earth, he was very clear. He said, what I can do, you can do even more. In Mark 11:22, it's one of my favorite scriptures just because it's so simple. Let's see if I can get the exact wording on that. 11. I'll give you the exact words on that. 11:22. It's several different little sections there. Watch, I'll read it to you right now. Have faith in God. Well, that is a little more than that. It says, I say to whoever says, if you have faith in God, if you have faith, you could say to this mountain, move to the sea, and if you did not doubt in your heart, believed what said would come to pass, it will happen. That's Mark 11:22 to 25. So that's a pretty powerful thing. I'll read it one more time. If anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes what he says will happen, it will be done. So what he's saying there's a formula. I got to say this before the break. The formula is faith in God, asking, having faith in what you're asking, trusting what you're asking will be done, believing it will be done. If you do that, he says it will be done. Obviously, only if it's God's will. But the point is, he's saying that we all have this extraordinary potential. And it's right there, Mark 11:22 through 25. And Jesus doesn't say, and I can do it, and too bad you can't. He says, you can do it too. This is Robert Sidell, it's The Gateway. I'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned with me. Expect miracles. And those of you on the Facebook, I should say. Stay with me. So my friends, hey Ernie, how you doing? My friends, it's up to you and I. If it's going to be, it's up to me. That's a saying I like. If it's going to be, it's up to me. What is God? What's not God planting in the soul of my soul? What's God planting in your soul? James, what's God planting in your soul? Debbie, what's God planting in your soul? If it's going to be, it's up to me. So what happens in this world is we get used to putting up with disappointment, frustration, and unhappiness, which some of that's part of life, don't get me wrong, but we don't want to start to think that's the norm. I remember I dated somebody once, many years ago, a woman, it was way before I got married, and she said something to me once that was a little scary to me, but I actually understand it now. Hey Jonelle, how you doing? I didn't quite understand it back then as much. She goes, I'm kind of scared. I said, why? She goes, for the first time in my life, I feel happy. She goes, I'm just afraid. It scares me. And I started realizing that what had happened is that for some reason or another, she'd had a lot of unhappiness. And she just couldn't really believe that happiness would continue in her life. So happiness was scary to her. So you see how these things can happen to us? We can actually literally become scared to trust in good. We become afraid. By the way, that's called, there's a fancy psychological term for that. It's called post-traumatic stress. I mean, if you start to be afraid, and all of it can happen to any of us for any reason. I think it maybe happens a little bit to all of us. You know, if we've lived long enough in this world, you've had some disappointments, you've had some reversals, you've had setbacks, you've had the rejections, you probably had maybe lost jobs occasionally. And maybe only once, I hope. Maybe never. But the point is, you've had things that have been a blow to you, that have scared you. And what you and I have to do, and the problem that starts to happen for us, is then we're afraid to trust. We pull back. It's like we're afraid to really have faith again. We're afraid to trust in the magic and wonder of life. There's something, when we come back from the break, I want to talk about. It's called beginner's luck. And beginner's luck is when people start with something and they maybe have had no experience with it. But because they just expect it to work, it will. Oh, good. James says, the Lord has been sowing a great many good seeds. That's good, James. I'm thrilled. Let's see something. I need to do one thing here. Oh, we're about to go back on the radio. Good evening, this is Robert Sidell. It's a great pleasure to be with you here on the #1 talk station in Las Vegas, and we're simulcasting on Facebook, and we also are on YouTube. Just type in on YouTube and type in Gateway Miracle Podcast with Robert Sidell, any of those words, Gateway Miracle or Gateway Sidell, and you'll find it on YouTube. And then you can watch these later on if you get some ideas. So the whole idea of the show this morning, like I said, I was sitting there. What was happening to me is, when I was sitting in church this morning, I was thinking about some of my own limitations. You know what that's like, where suddenly you're getting thinking, oh, this, I could have done this, I could have done that. And I was kind of going through that. And suddenly, like a lightning bolt almost, an awareness came through me. Nope, none of that makes any difference at all. Not a little bit, but not at all. Their best is yet to come. You have to dare to know it. You have to dare to believe it, dare to live it, dare to feel it. Yeah, I like it. Sharing our commonality, sir. Step 1, step 2. Yeah, well, that's what we have to do. Absolutely. So, all of a sudden, I went from feeling some defeat thoughts to feeling victory thoughts, just like instantaneously. And it's funny because believe it or not, that wasn't really the message that was being taught this morning. So maybe the Spirit was there, so the Spirit was teaching me, but that wasn't actually the message today in church. But somehow the Spirit came in me and said, no, don't you dare get caught up in that negative loop. Don't you dare, because that's not where you belong. And that's the same thing I want to say to each of you. Don't you dare get caught up in self-condemnation, self-hatred, self-subjugation. Don't you dare quit believing in the magic and wonder of God, of good, of life in your life. Don't you dare do that. And don't let anybody or anything cause you to stop believing in the wonder and magic that surrounds you in your life. Don't let anybody or anything cause you to doubt your infinite possibility and that the best is yet to come. And that, my friends, I mean, it's funny. I've been saying that kind of thing for years. I just want you to know that I see so many miracles in my law practice. I can't usually give the details very much. But the bottom line is I see outcomes that I could never have imagined. And things that can lead to wonderful outcomes for people. And I have to remember, and that's just one slice of my life. Today, and here's the magic of life, my friends. Today is probably as good of a day as I've ever had. And what were we doing today? We had a group of people helping us clean up our yard. We're having a wedding coming up, and so we're needing to clean up the yard because that's where we're going to be having part of it. And so we had a group of people there, and nice people. I actually know them all that were helping us, and that's what we were doing. I mean, it's nothing dramatic really. Very simple really. Hey Janet, nice to see you on there. And yet, as the day went on, then the weather changed, and suddenly we had some thunder and a little bit of rain. The air was really comfortable. The trees were rustling in the wind. I had a chance to visit with my wife a lot after everybody left. Listen to this, we saw a little desert tortoise. It's about the size of a quarter. I mean, when I say little, I'm talking about little. And in fact, we saw another tortoise, a little bit bigger, desert tortoise. We have two of these little ones in our yard right now. Another one's about the size of 3 or 4 inches across. But the point I'm getting at is that all these things unfolded in this day. I didn't expect any of it or know that any of it was going to happen. And it was magic, and it was wonderful. And the air was gentle and beautiful, and had these, nice people with me helping us out. And everything that life represents was there in rich abundance. Love, friendship, time, beauty. We shared a meal together. So my friends, what is the magic of this life? What's going to make you and I happy? What do we need? What do you need to fill in that space between the day you're born and the day you die to feel happy? So I want to ask you and think about that. What do you need in that space of your life to feel fulfilled? Now, every one of us is going to be a little bit different. But in life, we really have to keep reinventing ourselves. And that's what I really want to talk about tonight. How we have to keep reinventing ourselves. We have to start out with the conviction, I can go into a great future. That's a decision. It's like Jesus was talking about in Mark 11:22. That's believing something and trusting it will happen even after you ask it. So right now, I'll say this to you, each of you. I trust that right now, you and I, collectively, are walking into a future better than we could ever imagine. Better. Well, according to Jesus, that means if we can hold our faith in God, and in another scripture he says, and forgive everybody, then it will happen. And he didn't put any qualifications on it. So you and I have that gift. We have that opportunity. Are we willing to trust that the best is yet to come right now? That amazing new possibilities are coming into your life you could never dream of. So many things come into my life that even from a week-to-week basis that I'm shocked. Wonderful things. But like I say, today, it's just a beautiful, wonderful enjoyment of the simple pleasures of life. And work too, by the way, work also. I was cleaning out a couple rooms, literally washing the floor out in a room was one room. And the point of all these different things took time and energy. I went and got a meal for everybody, and they loved the meal. So you see, what's so special in this day for me? Sharing a meal with some people, cleaning out some rooms, trimming some trees. The magic is just being alive. And this is what I want to say to each of you. Allow the magic of wonder and wonder of existence to well up around you, through you, and for you. And you can walk into a future better than you ever dreamed of. Friends that you don't even know exist today coming into your life. Maybe in some cases, friends that you haven't heard from a long time coming back into your life. Wonder coming into your life. But the key is, if you want to walk into a great future, you must not allow yourself to believe that there's any one thing that's going to make you, or a group of things that's going to stop you from going forth into a beautiful future. You have to dare to trust that whatever God is in the most infinite eternal sense, God can heal, correct, and build on whatever has happened in your life. Think about that. God can heal, correct, and build on whatever has happened in your life. No matter how wonderful it's been, or if it's had some setbacks, doesn't matter which it is. You could still go forward right tonight in a better future than you ever dreamed of. How many of you are willing to just accept that and claim that for yourself right now? Or how many of you are willing to be in agreement with that? Are you in agreement that you could walk into some of your very best moments of life now and in your future? New friends, new loved ones, new family. I guess I say new family. Well, yeah, there's new family that comes along. There is. That's just a good way to put it. I won't say too much more about that. But the point is, each of you have that opportunity. But are you willing to hold that faith? Are you willing to take a stand in that faith and trust that the infinite miracle-working dimension of grace is there waiting for you? And as I ask these questions, hey, Kathy, it's nice to see you on here. Are you willing to know that amazing good is coming to you now? Are you willing to know that God's eternal love surrounds and enfolds you right now? Are you willing to know that you're absolutely forgiven of all mistakes in your past, and God's finished with those mistakes? What you need to do is work on accepting a fantastic future. Are you willing to trust that there's a fantastic future waiting for you? I mean, I see different people on here. It's not for me to say people's stories, but I know we all deal with different stories in life because we're alive on this earth. There could be loss of loved ones, various different things. But we have to somehow know, even in the midst of that there's a plan waiting for us. So if I were to say it most simplistically, what I say life is, well, it's not me really. Lots of people say it. Life in a way is a dance with God. It's learning to dance with God. It's learning to come into cooperation, into harmony, into unity with God's purpose for our lives. Would you be willing to do that in your life? Think about that. Would you be willing to come into harmony with God's purpose for your life? Would you be willing to be forgiven of your transgressions and start again tonight? If there's anything you think you're holding on to that you think makes you unworthy or unkind or not good or better than the best, let it go tonight, right now while we're talking. Just let it go. Let God lift it off of you right now. Let God lift it off of you right now. Right this second. If there's any thing that you think is standing between you and God's purpose tonight, I invite you to let it go right now. And trust that God has a plan to deal with that problem, whatever it might be, or just that it's been healed, whatever. So are you open to receiving the highest and best good for your life? That's really in a way, that's what this show's all about. Trying to rejuvenate our ability to accept and expect and know that amazing good is coming to us. Are you willing to have a fabulous future? Are you willing to be cured of any health problems that ail you? This is Robert Sidell. You're listening to The Gateway Show. We're going to go to a break. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned. This is Robert Sidell. It's a pleasure to be with you. And I'll keep working with each of you on Facebook. second. Hey Siri, FaceTime audio, call Karen. So my friends, hold on 1 second here. I gotta make a quick call here. All right, are you there, Karen? Hello? Hello? So, in any event, that's up to you and I, isn't it? Are we courageous enough to trust that there's a fabulous future waiting for us? Better than we could ever dream of. Are you willing to play that game in your life? On some level, life is a divine game. I don't even like the word game. Oh, is that you, Karen? Oh, could you just pull the lift out and just refill that container with water? You can leave whatever is in there. I want you to leave it all in there. A little bit of ice in it too. Get over there. Thanks. Just from the RO. So, my friends, I want to challenge you to reclaim your own destiny of greatness. I want to challenge you to believing in your future. I want to challenge you to give up those stories that have been holding you back. I want to challenge you to believe that the miracle working power of God is with you. I want to challenge you to recognize that within you there lies greatness. There lies healings for problems you're facing. Healings, think about that. Healings are waiting for you right now to accept them. Step 6, eh? Oh, sounds good. Huh. I'll have to maybe. What is step 6, James? What is step 6? Tell me. But I want you to just focus on this right now. Right now, where you are, the spark of greatness is in your soul, waiting to be germinated, waiting to burst forth in greenery, bringing forth a new future. And I want now, just even talking to you, getting a little inspiration too. Imagine that greatness is something much better than you could ever imagine. Coming in ways, methods, timing you could not plan. Oh, just a second. My beautiful wife's bringing me some water. Hold on. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. About to go back on the air now. That's good. Good evening, this is Robert Sidell. This is the Gateway Show on every Sunday evening, 6 and 7 p.m. live. And the whole purpose of this show, it's also simulcasting on Facebook, and it also appears on YouTube if you want to watch this later on. Just, you'll see the title. Just go to YouTube, Gateway Sidell, Gateway Miracle Broadcast, and you can just go right on YouTube and you can listen to one of these anytime you want. So tonight, like I said, it was very interesting for me. I just was sort of thinking to myself, oh, I probably shouldn't have made this choice. I shouldn't have made that choice about something, which is kind of silly in a way, but that's a different story. But sometimes we're not logical in our lives. Sometimes we're irrationally emotional. So I was just sitting there thinking, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. And all of a sudden, a storm came to me. I mean, that's not really quite the word for it, but like lightning, like a force field just came right into me. It says, no, you're going to be successful and fulfill your purpose exactly as God would have it. And don't ever let anything don't let yourself ever believe that anything will stop you for that. And even as I say to you now, I can just feel that welling up inside my soul. And I want you to have that same feeling too. I'm now in my early 70s. And actually, ironically, in my own life, a lot of people retire at age 65. The last 7 years or so of my life, well, I've actually done some of the greatest work I've done in a lot of different areas. And so it's a good example. You just don't know what's in your future. And that's what I want to encourage each one of you to remember too. So here I am in my 60s and now my 70s, accomplishing more, reaching out, having all sorts of fruit of hard work and good blessings and all sorts of things coming into my life in many different ways. Family, loved ones, work, all sorts of things. A lot of the adventure of life. And as I'm sitting here right now, I'm just really reminded that we can have fun. And I really believe that this world life is supposed to be a celebration. I really, really believe it's supposed to be a celebration. There's a funny joke I'll tell you about that. During the Middle Ages, the only way they could copy books is you get these friars and monks, and they would go down in their basements and they'd sit there hand by hand, writing. And that's where all of our books came from, basically. There were no printing presses back then. And one day, one of the monks just started yelling out and crying and was so upset. So then he came upstairs and he said, "Oh, Brother Charles, what's the problem?" And so he says, "All this time before, I thought it said celibate." But he goes, "Actually, it said celebrate." There's your joke for the night, your spiritual joke. So how many of us maybe need to start celebrating life more? Maybe we need to start celebrating the gift of life more. And many of us have turned it, without meaning to, turned it into a dark experience. Now, mind you, sometimes we encounter some darkness and we have to come through it. I'm not trying to say that's not true. But we want to move ourselves as much as we can into the celebration of life. And I think today in the world, with the internet and everything, what happens is that we're so flooded with the negative stories of the world, it's very easy to be angry and upset all the time. Do you know that feeling? Any of you listening know that feeling? Do you know that feeling of just like, oh, this is happening, that's happening, look what's happening, this world, blank, blank, blank. How about you and I focusing on the miracles of our own life? If you're going to work on healing any part of the world, work on your own life and just keep opening yourself to that miracle working power. And let your life become a light unto others. And if you lift 3 people, that's a miracle. Or 1 person, doesn't matter. You may end up lifting thousands of people just by one choice that you make that can make a difference. So right now, I'm challenging each of you that are listening, somebody listening personally now or later on the recordings on Facebook or on YouTube, I'm challenging you to get excited about the things that could happen in your life that would take your life to levels and dreams that you didn't think were possible. Levels and dreams you didn't think were possible. Just about 3 weeks ago, I was up in Carmel looking at supercars with my kids. I didn't expect to be over there. And that was so much fun. It was just a magical, wonderful experience. And last weekend, I was in Minnesota. And I ended up going to the Minnesota State Fair, which I never even knew there was such a thing. I guess sort of obvious in a way, but apparently that's a big thing back there. And not only back there, it's one of the biggest ones in the whole country. And a couple 100,000 people show up in a single day, like the day I was there. And it's exciting and it's fun. It was actually enough fun that I would go back again. Every kind of junk food you've ever could imagine is there. Every kind of little entrepreneurial thing to sell is there also. It's kind of what I think of Americana. I love that kind of stuff. I used to always go to the LA County Fair for the same kind of thing with my dad. But I didn't know I was going to be going to that. I was flying back to a friend of mine's birthday party in Minnesota, believe it or not, a surprise birthday party. And my wife and I flew back. And when we got to the airport to get our car, they said, "Are you going to go to the fair?" I said, "What fair?" I had no idea there was a fair. Well, we went to, he said, "No, the Minnesota State Fair just started. This is the second day." So we drive over there. We don't know where to park. We don't know what to do. It's this huge mass of people. And suddenly there's somebody who has a front yard. They're literally making their front yard into a parking lot. And all the people were doing that along there. We park our car, walk in, and it's just fun. Every kind of fun you could imagine. Like I said, I'd go back there again for it. I really would. It was so much fun. But I didn't expect that. I didn't know I'd be doing that. You told me 2 weeks earlier, you're going to be walking in the Minnesota State Fair. I'd say, what? What are you talking about? I'm not even going to be in Minnesota. So if you keep saying yes to life, I'll make a prediction right now for those of you listening. Some of you are going to be traveling places even within the next couple of weeks you wouldn't expect. Some of you are going to be starting new business ideas that right now you wouldn't expect. Some of you are going to meet friends that are going to change your life in ways you would not expect. These are pleasant surprises. Some of you are going to get outcomes that are much better than you ever expected. See, we don't, by opening ourselves to the good of life, we serve God. That's how we serve God, by opening ourselves to the good that life has to offer. By letting yourself be a well house of goodness, that's how we serve God. It's funny, when you're in summertime, just getting some ice water can be really refreshing, with a little bit of tea in it for me. So my friends, let's just get excited without knowing what the excitement's for. There's something called, I wanted to talk about tonight, a mental equivalent. You build a mental equivalent in your mind of what you want to see in your reality. And we do have choice to some extent, as was pointed out by Jesus in Mark 11:22-24. It's right there. It's very biblical. And he says, what you ask for, it shall be done if you can believe, not doubt, and forgive those who you've condemned or judged. Then you could basically ask for anything. It could happen. So the question is, my friends, let's test God right now. Actually, I never really want to test God. I'll just say this. I ask that blessings of amazing good comes to you in your life and any person's life who's listening, and new doorways open up, new dreams open up, new possibilities open up that today you could not imagine. As I told you earlier, a friend of mine that I known for 40 years told me that I told him that when he was going through a dark period, and then later on, sure enough, this person came into his life and changed his life. And he's gone on to be enormously successful and actually soon to retire with a huge pension. So he's a very fortunate guy. Point is, we serve God by becoming the greatness that God is. We don't serve but God by falling into the mud and staying there. Not that God would condemn that, but we serve God by letting the fullness of God's love come forth in us. Does that make sense? We serve God by letting the fullness that God has prepared for us to come through us. That's how we serve God. God's saying, think of your own parents. I think of my own parents. Whenever I'm thinking to myself, discouraged about anything, I always hear my mom saying, Robert, don't you dare give up. Don't you dare give up. Or I hear my dad say, listen, you're the best in what you're doing. Do not give up. And that's the kind of way I was raised. Luckily, that's a gift of my life. I realize not everybody has that gift necessarily, but I'm very grateful to have it. So guess what? I'm going to do the same thing for you that my parents did for me. Don't give up. Andy, don't give up. C, don't give up. James, don't give up. The best is yet to come. And by the way, that's an act of faith. And the whole Bible is nothing but about faith. Everything is faith. Jesus taught all about faith. He was a faith worker, really. And he gave so many different examples. Walking on water, faith. Your faith is what has cured you. Over and over again, he said that, told people, it's their faith, their faith, their faith. When the centurion came to him and said, my daughter is sick at home, Jesus said, well, do you want me to come to the house or what? He goes, no, I don't need to come to the house because I know that you have the power to heal her right where you are. And Jesus said, wow, that's faith. And he goes, you're right. Your faith will heal you. Your daughter's healed. And so when the centurion got home, sure enough, his daughter was healed. His daughter was healed. And so he had the faith. Do you have the faith? Jesus said something 2,000 years ago, but it's still true today. It's just as if he spoke it to you and me right now. What are you willing to believe? What are you willing to know? Are you willing to take an act of faith to know the best is yet to come in ways you could never dream of? New career, new ideas, new travel, new adventures, new friends, new excitement, all the things that make life worth living. Like I say, just one simple little day for me today, cleaning up things around my yard. Like I say, just in this last week of cleaning things up, we found 2 different desert tortoises, both very tiny. One's like the size of a quarter. It's a little tiny thing. So my wife is trying to set up a place for it sort of safe in a way, but still in the yard. And he keeps getting out of it. Of course, being a man, I'm a little different. Well, maybe he's supposed to get out of it. But anyway, we're trying to keep him safe, and that's nice. So we've got another one that's about this big around, about the size of a pancake or something. And he's a nice little fellow too. So, but like Karen says, he doesn't want to hang out with the other one. But my point is, did I know I was going to see these little tortoises? No. And there they were. And we saw, you'll think this is kind of funny thing. We saw a very pretty, nice snake in our yard the other day. A beautiful black. Okay, we're going to go to a break right now, my friends. Be back in just a moment. Stay tuned. This is Robert Sidell. Stay with me. And I'll have Reverend Ernie and Janet with us in just a couple minutes. Stay tuned. This is Robert Sidell. So my friends that are still there. Yeah, Andy says, the joy of finding new experiences, say yes to excitement and joy. Yeah, we need, Andy, we have to really. I mean, we have to be able to have things that seem exciting. It's one of the things I like about Elon Musk, and I know for some people it's sort of controversial, but he believes we should believe in good things. Because we can easily get stuck in stinking story thinking, stinking thinking. Any of us can. You know, yeah, are there problems in the world? Of course there are problems. There were problems 2,000 years ago, too. There were problems 3,000 years ago, too. Matter of fact, most of the problems were way worse than they are now. People all the time would go along and suddenly they didn't have irrigation or anything. There's some dry time and they all died from droughts. You know, they couldn't raise their crops. I mean, this is just normal. People had, even just 100 years ago, or just, let's say, just a little after the Civil War, people would be coming west in their wagon trains, and there's lots of stories and some famous ones where a whole family of 6 or 7 people were on their way out, and both parents died because the kids are suddenly on their own. There were like 5 or 6 kids. That particular family ended up in Oregon. Here comes. Oh, there's Janet. Hey, Janet, how you doing?
I'm good.
I'm hoping I see Ernie on here in a second. But the point I'm getting, my friends, I'm just saying, there's been problems all along. Abraham Lincoln, the President of the United States, had the best medical care available, which, I hate to say, it wasn't much at all. Lost 2 of his kids to illnesses. And one of them, he was President of the United States, and he loved this little kid, and suddenly, within 4 or 5 days, the kid was gone, died. Bingo, gone. That's the world that was normal, just not long ago. So we think we've got problems, but tell you what, they had far worse problems. It's never been better than it is now. But we've got to break that hypnotic spell of failure and limitation. Hey, Ernie, how you doing? How you doing, Ernie? Can you hear me? Oh, good. You can hear me. Good. The famous trio. The Three Musketeers.
Yeah, thank you.
It's nice to have you here. We'll be back on the air in just a moment. I'm trying to remind everybody, including me, that the best is yet to come. That good stuff is on its way. New friends, new possibilities, new dreams, new trips, new adventures. All right, here we go. Good evening, this is Robert Sidell. Welcome you back to the Gateway Show on live every Sunday evening from 6 to 7 p.m. I am really so grateful for those of you that join us. You can also listen to this later on the recordings on Facebook and also on YouTube. Just type in Gateway Podcast, Sidell, Sidell, or Miracle Podcast, and you will get it. Okay, you can listen to any one of these shows. All right, we've got the amazing Janet and the amazing Ernie here with us. So, and they're both, you know what, you both are amazing. I mean, you both are very dedicated people, growing in your journeys. You both look unusually young for your age, young and vibrant. And so, you do. I mean, it's fun. So Ernie, what do you have to share with us tonight?
All right, thank you, Robert. The prayer topic for today is, you were born for greatness, chosen for excellence, and deserve a great life. And dear Lord, thank you for this blessed day. We acknowledge we were born for greatness, chosen for excellence, and deserve a great life. Assist and guide us in our quest for inner greatness, for excellence, and experience a great life. We ask to recognize from within the compassion and desire to serve the needy and less fortunate. We also pray for joy, peace, and blessings on those far from home. Lord, help us to forgive, guided by our inner knowing that we will live in greatness, excellence, and a great life one day at a time. Thank you for all you do in our life, our greatest gift in this world, for all your continued blessings and love, creating heaven on earth, and so it is. Amen.
See, Ernie, based on what I was reading earlier from Mark 11:22 and 24, that's going to happen. If you believe it, don't give up believing in it, have faith. What you're saying, heaven and earth, is coming. So that's
Yes,
kind of neat to think about, isn't it?
that's
All
right.
right, Reverend Janet, what do you want to share with us tonight?
Well, this was the perfect topic that was in the Unity Daily Word today, because all of that Ernie said and you've been talking about comes to us through divine grace. And that's the topic is through divine grace, I am abundantly blessed in every way. Grace is an awareness that wherever I am, God is. It is my reminder to let God be God in me. Grace assures me that I am never alone on my journey through life, that no matter what I do or fail to do, I am unconditionally loved and accepted at the level of spirit. Grace touches every area of my life. In a lonely moment, grace is the overwhelming awareness that I am loved. It is the surprising way through a challenge I consider I considered unsolvable. That's right. It is my whole body suddenly glowing with the power of divine life, even as I experience a health challenge. These are just some of the many ways I experience grace. Grace need not be, nor can it be earned. It is a divine gift available at every moment. As I open my heart to divine grace, I am filled with indescribable peace. And then from Hebrews, grace be with all of you.
So that's beautiful. What did it say? Something about something you thought was unsolvable? Where was that? I just went
Oh,
over.
it is the surprising, it was talking about what grace is every day
Right.
or can be. It is the surprising way through a challenge I considered unsolvable.
There you go. James Breeze says, "Thank you, Miss Janet." And by the way, he also said, "Thank you, Ernie," too, in Facebook. Both of you. He comment. He thanked both of you. Um, you know, that's what grace is, isn't it? Like I say, for some reason, when I was sitting in church, I don't know why, suddenly I was just feeling uh, some discouragement in one area of my life, or for some different things I was thinking about, and then just all of a sudden, I was just lifted up beyond that. So I was just kind of stuck in a little valley of a little bit of negative thinking, and then suddenly grace lifted me right out of it and said, "No, that's not where you have to stay. I want you back on the mountaintop." And that's the day. So what do you two do? I'm just curious. Oh, we got a couple more minutes here. Um, so Janet, how do you keep yourself positive? We all have some reversals and things we have
Oh,
to
we
deal with.
all do. We all have that happen. Um, well, I sometimes I'll call another person if I feel stuck in something for them to give me another perspective on it.
Call somebody else. Reach out to somebody in love.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
And yeah, what? And then sometimes I'm praying, but if I'm praying and I still feel stuck, then I'll call another person for them to give me some insight on something that maybe I'm not seeing.
um, that's the beauty. When people, we get stuck in these little knots in our brains, which our minds, whatever you want to call it. And you told me once you call it being caught in a spin cycle, where your mind just
Yeah,
keeps spinning.
or also like if a record, the needle gets stuck
Right,
in
same
a
kind of thing.
position. Of course,
If you
most people don't know records these days, but we do.
right, they don't even know what a record is. What is she talking
Yeah.
about? What is that thing she's talking about? Yeah, that's funny. But okay, so Ernie, what do you do to keep yourself positive and focused moving forward?
Oh, right. Well, I do communicate with my wife, Denise, and sometimes, I do it. let her know, that's how I feel. I mean, really feel in my heart. And that's one area. The other area is the meditation and prayer. And I have another couple other friends, or maybe even spiritual friend like you, for instance. We meet at least maybe once a year, I guess. That we share quite
Which
a bit.
reminds me, I owe you for lunch too. Actually, yeah, we should get together for lunch.
We do, share something, things like that. And lately, I've been doing a lot of, a lot of meditation, prayers to at the gym, for instance, in the sauna room, and also as well as the steam room. It's very, very what you call quite positive and lifting at the same time. It's very healthy.
I do that too. It's funny you mention it. I go into the steam room and I'll sit there, and especially if there's nobody else in there, I'll pray
Yes.
out loud. But if somebody else in there, I won't pray out loud. But um, yeah, no, that's and I'll put on motivational tapes and listen on my headphones or
Yes.
my AirPods when I'm on a treadmill or something, and
Mhm.
it's very helpful actually. It really gets me. I feed my mind all the time. Were you gonna say something, Janet, before we run out of time? Did you want to say
Yeah,
something?
I do want to say one thing, because sometimes when you get in those spots, sometimes you do really have to sit with your emotions and sit with that in that spot and not try to dash out of it too quickly, because you can learn something about yourself in those moments. And just being with them and being patient with them. So
The,
there's
the,
something to be said about that
They're, they're
too.
they're turning on music now, so I guess I have to.
Oh, okay.
You can actually stay with me for a second. I'm gonna let go fish up the radio show. So those of you listening to the radio, God bless you. It's always a pleasure to be with you. We'll be back next Sunday at 6 p.m. again for another live show. And God bless you. Remember, God is good. The best is yet to come, and miracles are real. You have a fabulous week. Okay, so we're off that now. We can still talk for a couple more minutes, and for anybody who's on Facebook. And yeah, you know what? Boy, it's a pretty glow outside right now. I was looking. It's a pretty evening. Isn't that fun? Too, we found these two little desert tortoises in our yard. It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just interesting. And I think it's the journey this little being has started on Earth. This little thing
Mhm.
is no bigger than a quarter. Try to picture it that small, that big around. It's hard to believe, really. And and it's yeah, life surrounds us. We get caught up in our stories. I think that's the problem with humanity. I mean, we get caught up in our stories and in what some people used to call stinking thinking. And instead of seeing how wonderful it all is, we get stuck in all the negativities, our frustrations, our unhappiness. So
Yeah.
for me anyway, I've got to keep, I'm kind of obsessive about this, so I try to stay positive. But it doesn't matter. I mean, there could be anything can come along that throws you off a little bit for any human being.
Mhm. It's true.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what. You're both appreciate what you're sharing. I'm glad that we were having a good show. You made a big difference to everybody, I'm sure. And a lot of people compliment. Oh, James Bree says thank you and have a blessed week. And so, so each of you both, anybody listening on Facebook still, may God bless you all. Remember, God is real, miracles are real, and the best is yet to come. It's just an act of faith, isn't it, to know that?
Yep, it sure is.
All
Well, have
right.
a great week, okay?
All right. Have a great week. Thank you both so much for all your prayers and help.
Bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
God bless. Bye bye.
Bye,
Have a
Janet,
good
and
night.
bye, Robert.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.